Most of us are running businesses, families, relationships, dreams, but we're doing it on fumes typically. We don't stop when we're tired, we stop when we're broken. How do you perform when your tank is empty without destroying yourself? What has your exhaustion already cost you? Has it cost you key relationships? Has it cost you key opportunities? Has it cost you potential long-term rewards?
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is your first time here. You have just found the best podcast that you've never heard or seen before in your whole life. We are called Old Guys Still Rock, or better yet, OGSR. We're in episode number 137 today. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, 137.
137. Yeah. It's been so good that I keep forgetting. I thought that I might have missed one. So 137, we're Old Guys Still Rock. I'm Blair Armstrong of Team Armstrong, Coldwell Banker. I'm a global luxury specialist in the world of residential real estate. I'm located in the beautiful Coachella Valley, which is, for those of you who don't know where the Coachella Valley is, it's basically Palm Springs, Palm Desert, Rancho Mirage, La Quinta, the home of the Coachella Music Festival, Stagecoach. Somehow, some way you've had to heard about it. If you haven't heard about Palm Springs or Palm Desert, probably living underneath a rock somewhere. So go find a map and find Palm Springs and then go all the way out to Coachella. And that is the Coachella Valley. So on the other side of me is the other host of the show and a good friend of mine for almost 30 years, Wright, at Brent, Wright Incorporated. He's located in beautiful Eugene, Oregon. But before we go down to that path, Brent Wright is I want to say a savant of a certain way. I'm using some different words that I've used in the past. So, but he owns a body shop, a detail shop. He has a payroll company. He's multiple property owner where he buys and refurbishes and then rents them. Him and his wife partnered up together over 2 years ago and opened up a wellness center. So if you are in the Eugene area, I would definitely look up Wright Wellness Center. It is, I would call it state-of-the-art wellness center, just because it's not a typical box gym. They're not only doing a typical workout type of stuff, but they're also doing alternatives. So definitely check it out. Go to Wright Wellness Center on Instagram or on Facebook, or just look them up online and check out their stuff. They have some really cool things that can benefit your life. Another thing that he just got into, him and 3 other guys of his contingent, they just took over a business about almost 18 months ago.
Nope, it's 10 months ago.
10 months ago. I just thought there was a discussion beforehand, so that's why I say that. But anyway, bustedtees.com. If you stream TV like I do through like YouTube TV, you see their ads often. So if you want to see the kind of one of the brains behind the beast, that's him right there. Brent Wright Incorporated. So anyway.
The small brain. It's a small brain.
Yeah, dude, your brain is not small, for sure. So anyways, man, how are you? What's going on?
Good. Because we are old, we have to talk about the weather. It's been very, very chilly here. Today is one of our warmest days this morning. It was 37 when I left the house. Yesterday, it was 25, 26. And we've got a massive layer of fog. I can actually see the building across the way right now, which I haven't been able to see in the mornings for the last week. So that's super, super cool. Little bit of a performance report on Busted Tees on our social pages. So just in Busted Tees and our meme page, Death Star Digest, which is super cool to check out if you're a Star Wars fan, Star Trek, things like that. We do a lot of Star Trek, Star Wars battles on there as well, which is super neat. 90 days, 700,156,356 views.
It's incredible.
We've increased our followers to 134,295 followers. And Death Star Digest is our followers are all new within the last 6 months. We had 38.9 million likes. We had 153.4 thousand comments. We had 22 million shares.
Incredible.
We had 1.33 million reposts.
So let's stop there for a second. I know you read those numbers, and those are astronomical numbers. I mean, those are viral, right? Mm-hmm. And so one thing that I didn't leave out, that Brent Wright is a really good business coach and personal coach. So if you're kind of feeling stuck or you're trying to find some new ideas to kind of get your business to the next level. Now, he will tell you he's not the only one behind this. They have a team, not a big team, but a very efficient and tactical team. So those are the type of things right now, especially in the world of business, especially in the world of AI that's coming in there. And you're trying to figure out how I take my business and plug that in and make that better. So if you're one of those businesses, or you're just one of those guys that's, is constantly chasing perfection, but settling on excellence, I would definitely reach out to him, or actually go back and look at 136 other of our episodes and see if he's a fit for you. If you feel, after either listening or viewing those episodes that we have of Old Guys Still Rock, super easy to get a hold of, I would strongly suggest you at least have a conversation and then go from there. His brain power and his way that he dissects business is something that it's just a rare bird. And I think I would encourage you to do so if you're trying to find it to the next level.
Thank you for that. I will tell you that we actually do have a fairly large team now. So we have a total of 12 VAs across the world.
Okay.
4 owners. We have 1 dedicated social media person, and we have a full-time bookkeeper.
Okay.
So we have been building the team egregiously over the last 2 months.
Yes.
And we anticipate and are projecting $10 million in sales this year.
When you look at the grand scheme of things, and I know this is not our subject, by the way, we kind of have a little precursor to the stuff, just kind of catching everybody up. When you look at the grand scheme of things, 15 members of a team is not very large in the grand scheme of things of this world. So with those numbers that you just read, and that's why I said it's not a big team, it's an efficient and tactical team. With those numbers that you're producing, a lot of people would love that.
So we're actually, the next step in this is to monetize our social channels. Okay. And to get advertisers on our social channels. And we're looking at getting some influencer opportunities.
Okay.
So if you're an influencer and want to attach yourselves to bustedtees.com, please reach out. If you are someone who wants to advertise on our socials, we have a package built out. We'll be going over in our management meeting today and be able to present that. So if you want to advertise and get your business in front of 134,295 followers who are actively participating in 700 million views in 90 days, the opportunity for you to advertise is huge.
That's awesome. Great job, guys. Kyle, I haven't met the other two, but Kyle Vanderlyn, good job, man. It's awesome. By the way, all these guys, this is not the only thing that they're doing. To manage this and continue to have the other 3 people that you don't see on the screen right now have very thriving businesses on top of that, and families. So it's a pretty cool feat, and how they manage it is kind of what we're going to get into today. So let's go after it, man, because, one big thing that we're talking about all this stuff. Real estate, I'm all over the place right now. People are starting to get off their hands. Over the last 18 months has been kind of quiet. I think some realtors say, well, I've been super busy. Well, okay, that's awesome. But there's a lot of you out there that maybe like, God, it's just, last year was kind of a mediocre year. It wasn't a bad year. It was just mediocre. A lot of people were kind of waiting to see what was going on. I'm in a different world of real estate. I'm in a want market, not a need market, meaning is people come in like, I want to be in the sunshine and I want to be in the golf course and I want this house. It's not something like I need it. So with that being said, as we kind of start seeing people get off their hands a little bit, they're more comfortable with what's going on in the financial world, even though it's up and down all the time. Decisions start made. So we've gone from like twiddling our thumbs a little bit to 14-hour days, which I am not complaining. I love it. It is for an introvert, it is a lot because there's a lot of conversations, and I'm typically DNA wise not built that way. So mentally I'm just, Brent makes fun of me because I have dinner at 5:30 because I'm spent. I'm up at 4 and phone calls and running around all day. I'm just drained. Again, super not complaining, but maybe some of you guys can relate, which kind of leads, which go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, a friend of mine actually made this comment the other day. I asked him how business was going. And he said, for the last 2 years, because I said the last 2 years have been a little bit off for a lot of businesses. How are you guys doing? Just checking in, getting some feedback. And he said, real business people are still doing business. Everybody else is pretending. They're pretending that the sky is falling. They're pretending that, the economy's down. They're pretending, et cetera, et cetera. We've never seen the stock market at 50,000, and it's going to hit 50,000 here pretty quick.
Yeah, I tell people that
just this far away.
To carry on that, because I'm glad that you brought that up. I talk about that a lot, and people don't. The bubble that I live in here, we see a lot of Bentleys and Lamborghinis, and it's to a point it's like it's not cool anymore. It's like there's another, like it passes you, and it's like whatever. Ferrari clubs at the coffee shops and whatever, and you kind of forget how much money there is in this world. And I tell people this a lot. It wasn't too long ago that the stock market was at 13,000 during COVID. Hey. Yeah. And all of those people that took advantage of it at that time and now hitting 50,000, how many, not only millionaires, but billionaires have been made realistically over the last 6 years is mind blowing, of all different ages, from, 20 somethings to 70 somethings. So it's out there for those of you guys that, keep thinking, well, the economy is horrible. It's not that it's horrible, but you just have to have different conversations and understanding that, again, a lot of people, there's nothing that's really a need, it's a want. So it's how you're going to portray your business and build those relationships. And when they do want it, they will come out and buy it. But again, it's just not a need. And I hope that makes sense. So there's money out there. The economy is fine in my eyes. Will there be resets and stuff like that? Absolutely. But it's not that. I see a lot of people tucking money underneath their mattresses at this point.
Yeah, even very wealthy people have been scared. Interesting side note, I'm not a stock market analysis, and this is not advice. So just to give you a heads up, 5 years ago, I bought QQQ at $76. Do you know what it closed out yesterday at?
No.
$665. I'm up 80%.
Which is
in that stock. And I've been dollar cost averaging. So if you know anything about the stock market and math, I'm up over 80%, but I've been dollar cost averaging. So I've been buying it on the way up as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm over 80%, but I bought a big chunk of it at $76 and it closed out at $665. So
sorry about that.
The opportunities in this world are endless if you're willing to take a calculated risk.
Yeah, you just have to look at it, have educational conversations, and do some homework, right?
Yep.
It's not going to fall in your lap. So big thing that, we've been talking about this and like, okay, we're sounding really busy. One thing that happens a lot, sometimes we, when we're chasing that rabbit or chasing that coin, camera just went all over the place there. There you go. Just free hands. Anyway, but with that being said is, sometimes we get to the point that our tank, like I just said today, I get to the end of the day and I am just burnt toast.
Yeah.
How are you, when we're performing at a level and we're chasing that perfection and we're chasing excellence and all that stuff, how are you performing, when your tank starts to get empty? Do you have a switch? I know a lot of times, I'm going to do a little plug here, but when I start getting kind of tired midday, I use my, you introduced me to these little Alp nicotine pouches. So with that being said is it kind of gives me a little burst of energy and some clarity and stuff like that. But what are you doing, especially when you're running multiple businesses at this time? 3, 4, 5, 6 different businesses, obviously dealing with family. You are a different breed, but how are you handling life and handling business when your tank starts getting empty?
So it's all about cadence and routine. I'm a strategist by nature, and I create standard operating procedures. I do the same things at the same time every single day. And that eliminates the hills and valleys. Now, bear in mind, as going back to our notes that I sent you, you know, most of us are running businesses, families, relationships, dreams, but we're doing it on fumes typically. And you mentioned that at the end of the day, you just feel like you're on fumes. Most of us as an entrepreneur and intrapreneur, we don't stop when we're tired. We stop when we're broken. So identifying the pitfalls or the things that are coming up. We've talked about this before in past episodes. I have an actuarial mindset, meaning I'm trying to see where the holes are in the road before I get to them. And I try and pride myself in putting stop gaps in place to circumvent those issues. I wouldn't tell you that I'm 100% successful. I'm getting better as I get older. I'm getting more calculated, and I'm getting the pitfalls and the speed bumps are getting less and less based upon that. You know, one of the things in my notes is the real question is, how do you push harder? It's how do you perform when your tank is empty without destroying yourself? So one of the things that I do is I do the I am affirmations. We talked about that in a past episode. I do a little bit of prayer, a little bit of meditation. I set myself up for positivity. I do the gratitude exercise, like we talked about a couple episodes about, about being grateful when things are tough. You must be grateful for the tough times, and you must be grateful for the easy times. You can't just celebrate all the wins. You have to celebrate the losses too. I'm in a season right now where these notes really feel and really have hit home with me. That's kind of why they're my notes, and I shared them with you.
Yeah.
But yesterday we talked off of about this podcast coming up, and I was mentioning to you my wins, but I didn't mention to you that everything still feels heavy. It still feels burdensome. And I try to still be productive when I'm disconnected. I don't feel as fulfilled. Often my patience gets thin.
Yeah, I want to stop you right there because that's what I was waiting for you to say. And that's where I'm finding myself, and I'm struggling with it a lot. My patience about 3:00 goes from here
to negative numbers.
To negative numbers. Get short, start getting snarky. I don't like it. It's not who I want to be, but when people are asking a question, sometimes I'm a little short, or I answer it to the way like, why would you even ask something like that? I'm going to say this word, but this is, again, it's what's in my brain. I'm like, it's kind of a stupid question. Why would you ask something? It's just so common, blah, 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 blah. Instead of taking a time and going, okay, almost like a reset, which we'll get a little bit later. But my patience gets super thin to a point like I can start feeling myself. And what I haven't done is I haven't walked away and like taken a time out. I just keep pushing. And to me, I feel, and maybe you can answer this, I feel like I'm starting to become counterproductive at that point.
Yeah, because and just in the notes too that I shared with you, you fear slowing down more than failing. Because you fear becoming, irrelevant. If I don't push, will people remember me? If I don't push, will people consider calling me to list that house, to buy that t-shirt, to spend that money on their car, to pick something, right? It's kind of the celebrity thing. So, you've seen celebrities come and go because of irrelevance, because they're hot today and cold tomorrow. But you see people like Clint Eastwood, who's just been solid, and he's performing under pressure. He's built an opportunity for himself to have a place to escape to, Carmel, California. I don't know if you've been there, but it's like the most beautiful place in the world. It's amazing. Sadly, it's still in California, so I'll judge that a little bit. But one of the things that I believe that Clint Eastwood has done really well, and what I try to do is to stop mistaking adrenaline for energy. Stop living in the high. Start living in the steady. Creating steady opportunities, creating steady emotional intelligence. We talked about that in a prior episode. Stop rewarding yourself for all the wins. Like I said, you need to celebrate the wins and the losses. That's going to stave you away from or keep you away from burnout, is if you're not always trying to ride on these highs and lows.
Yeah. That's where my mind was going out with when you were talking about it, is consistency, right? Instead of having the peaks and valleys, how do I stay consistent?
Mm-hmm.
How do I just, like, we know that we want to be productive, not only in business, but in just in life in general. We want to stay relevant. We're doing all this stuff. And, you have these, some of them are good. Most of them are bad. But there's some really good ones, it's like you have to sacrifice all this stuff, and which there's a certain validity into that comment. But how do you just stay consistent to, even though, to having, okay, I'm going to peak in the next 30 days instead of I'm going to ride consistent over the next 30 years. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say there?
So somebody asked me yesterday, so I talked to you about, I'm buying a piece of property. We're making an offer on it today. I'm signing the docs. I was signing the docs pre-show. And they asked me, are you excited about this? I said, I'm not really excited about this. But I don't get excited about a lot of things anymore. Mm-hmm. I get excited about my family's response to it. I get excited about the fact that it's creating opportunities for myself and others. I get excited that I'm helping other people with their dreams. I get excited not just in finalizing the deal, I get excited in the art of the deal.
Yeah.
The process. I get excited in the process. So for me, one of the biggest letdowns in the last 10 years for me was helping a good friend of mine build a business to the point that he sold it for 9 figures. A lot of people would be like, well, that's a super win for you. Yeah, it was a win, but it was a letdown because during the process, we were impacting thousands of people's lives. And when it was done, that impact stopped.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. And that impact is still carrying on. So don't get me wrong. It's not that it's not still impacting people's lives in a positive way. It's just that the amount of impact seems to be and it's not measurable currently, where before it was very easily measurable.
It's just, I'm relating to my business, and maybe we're on the same common thread here to this, but you have measurable results, right? Mm-hmm. But then the impact that sometimes, which we've talked about in the past episodes too, is sometimes that impact is such a big ripple effect that we're not going to see the end. You saw the end in numbers. Like, I can't look at numbers. I can't be analytical about it. That's how my brain works. That's what feeds me, right? But not everyone is that way. And maybe having a different look at it for those who are analytical or actuaries, like what Brent is look at it as like, but man, I've built some good relationships along the way, and not take that so much for granted. I'm slowly realizing that in my years of real estate, that most of my clients, I would probably say 98 to 99% of my clients have become dear friends. Mm-hmm. Not some of them are more intimate than the others, but I have made friendships that I would have not made before. And that is my impact, right? I can walk into the room and I feel like, we talked a little bit about this as self-love, and maybe yourself last week, and maybe you're doubting who I am, or maybe my business hasn't been as great as it has been in the past, and maybe I'm not as great as store, but that's negative self-talk, which takes away your self-love. But now I could walk into a room. I was we were out at the club the other night, or this was last week after episode, and I was introducing a newer member, and this is actually coinciding with what you just said. And the amount of things that were said to this guy about who I was amazing. Oh man, you're really lucky to have Blair. He's really good. He's going to take care of you. He's a solid cat. The point of that is that even though that transaction with that one person is over and I can't measure it anymore, the ripple effect is ongoing. because there's conversations that I don't hear about. There's conversations that I do see that they'll say right in front of my, which is awesome. So yeah, we lose that high after that win, and it's awesome. And like, oh my, okay, that's over. On to the next, and not realizing how far that goes.
Well, in this world that we live in, the 8-second world we talked about before, I believe it's actually gone down in the last couple of years. And people are tired of that. Hustle culture rewards burnout. Everybody's push harder, longer workouts, more energy drinks, more clarity, more, right? And right. It's this dopamine hit that you get because you're doing everything the same that everybody else is striving to do, and everybody's telling you to do it. And so no different than any of the coaching platforms that you and I have been a part of. It's all about hustle culture. Hustle till it hurts, and then back off a little bit, and then hustle more till it hurts again, right? And so in our notes here, I wrote down some things. The hidden cost of performing on empty, costs that nobody talks about. Bad decisions that feel logical at the time, short temper with people who matter the most. You talked about that, getting, at the end of your rope every day. Trading presence for progress. We talked about that before, and dealing with my kids, about me making efforts to be present during those interactions, being present in, if I ask them about their day, not picking up my phone and looking at my phone while they're answering, right? Feeling like that you win the day, but you lost the decade or you lost the year. I don't know how many people I've talked to that said 2025 was just a really tough year. I was expecting it to be all these things, and they're burnt. They're burnt toast. The question here that we need to dive into is, what has your exhaustion already cost you? Has it cost you key relationships? Has it cost you key opportunities? Has it cost you potential long-term rewards? We see this in relationships with people, not just business relationships, but personal relationships. We've had some people on here that were going through divorce. What did that burnout and that empty tank cost that person, that family, those kids, their business?
So stop. Because when I saw this in your notes, I'm like, wow, this is really funny that he's bringing this up, because I've known this cat for a long time. And I'm talking about you, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
You never, ever, for as long as time, 3/4 of our relationship, you never took a time out.
Yeah.
And over really a little bit before this podcast started a couple of years ago, but more, I would say probably in the last 2 years, I've seen you to now, I can't get a hold of you on the weekend. That's family time. And that's not a Brent that I have known. And for me, again, you trained me. I could get a hold of you anytime. Now I can't get a hold of you on the weekends. I'm not upset about it. This is not a complaint. It is you have blocked this time because that is your reset for you. Now you're not a 14-day go on vacation, check out like a lot of us, like me. Chrissy and I go to Hawaii every year, and that's our checkout time. Now we still do a little bit of work, but there's a good chance that you're not going to get a phone call back or a text back at a certain amount of times just because, but I let you know that, hey, we're going here. This is my reset. So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of guys that are like you that can't turn it off. Like, we've got to go, like, got to strike while the iron's hot, and you go. But you also have to find, what you said here is that burnout could destroy relationships. And the person that we talked about that we had on here that had a divorce, it was go. And I find that they're constantly getting sick, that we have plans and things change, and you're constantly chasing because I have to support this and I have to do this. And if I don't perform here, they're going to go elsewhere. And it's causing more damage than benefit. And
it's the fear of irrelevance, right?
Which we just said earlier, right?
100%. And it causes you to be completely empty in all aspects. It's not that I'm hard to get a hold of on the weekends. I'm harder to get a hold of on the weekends. So instead of me answering the phone at every turn, it might take me a half hour, an hour to get back to somebody. I still have this pull that I need to. So this thing, if it has notifications on it, I got to clear those notifications. I have massive amount of OCD about clearing notifications. My wife has 26,000 emails that she hasn't read on her Gmail or deleted. She has no fear of irrelevance. She's more present. She doesn't get burnt out as deep as I do. She gets burnt out more often, but not as deep. When I get burnt out, I'm down for the count. I'm usually ending up in the hospital. That's the real cost of burnout for me. There was a time 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, where over the holidays, and she makes fun of me because I check out during the holidays because there's just too many people, too everything. This year, I made it a point to be explicitly relevant and in the moment with family and friends. And it changed. It changed the whole dynamic. 3 or 4 years ago, she thought I was checking out because I was sleeping in my chair the whole time that anybody was over. She didn't realize, and nor did I, that I was at the bottom. My tank was not only empty and depleted to the point of exhaustion, but I was depleted to the point of almost dying, to complete irrelevance at that point. I spent the night in the hospital because I was urinating blood. It will affect you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You have to pay attention to the signs. And most people don't pay attention to the signs. They ignore the warning signs. We talked about it earlier. Entrepreneurs mistake adrenaline for energy. Hustle culture rewards burnout. Your identity becomes your output, and you fear slowing down more than failing. But in doing that, rest feels like betrayal. So not only to me, but to her. She felt like I wasn't present during the holidays and that I was betraying her and her family and my family and the kids and our friends and all of that. And I felt like I was betraying all of that. And I was being selfish for taking time for me. But I wasn't communicating. I hadn't prepared for that massive amount of burnout and wasn't even really paying attention to the signs that, it was 2 days before I went to the hospital. You're not supposed to urinate blood for 2 days.
No, not a good.
Right. And so that goes into my notes about the 3 types of empty takes: physical depletion, emotional depletion, and purpose depletion. So when I'm physically depleted, probably like you, no sleep, bad fuel, no movement, I wasn't working out, my body was a liability, and I wasn't productive. The other one, emotional depletion, you're holding everyone else together while ignoring yourself. And then it goes into a little one step further. Like you said earlier, you're holding other people accountable to standards they don't know about.
And a lot of entrepreneurs in this. So entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs and relationships, what Brent just said there is a big deal, especially when you're in a leadership role. So mostly on the leadership roles, but entrepreneurs and relationships that are dealing with an entrepreneur that are trying to perform at a high level, this is going to help you understand them. So I'm going to say some stuff, and I know Brent's going to fill in some different things on here as well. Is just because entrepreneurs right now, just because it's you're pursuing that championship and you may win in one and then want to go pursue another one and so forth. The point is just because people are not on the same page does not mean that they're less than you. And you have to understand that. It will actually be able to train you or will teach you something. What Brent really just said about April, his wife. She can disconnect from that and not feel irrelevant. Brent and I have a very hard time disconnecting and still feeling relevant. Mm-hmm. And so you can learn a lot from those people. So if you're feeling like, why is this person not showing up at 7:30 in the morning when I'm here at 7? Why are they not beating me to the office and and I'm better than them? Are they? Or do they have a different understanding, and are they performing actually better than you because they have a different take? what Brent just, and also, about communication. He wasn't communicating to April, like, hey, I am burnt toast, and it's not like I'm disengaging. I'm trying to catch up here, and I don't know how to do it. So those are the things that I think that we get lost, especially with a lot of business coaches. Just like, leave everybody in the dust and and they can't keep up with you. That's their loss. Well, it's actually, I would say this, and when I'm learning this, and I'm trying to make my adjustments on this, and maybe you feel the same way, Brent, I am learning that there's a lot of assets that they have that I would love to plug into my life.
Yep, 100%.
And having a superior attitude is good to a certain extent, but it goes back to, it could actually kill us. I always say I go to the gym so I don't go to prison, because I get all my aggressions out. I go early in the morning. There's maybe 1 or 2 people in the gym. I don't have to talk to anybody, but it gets me focused. It lets me release stuff. And I find if I go 2 or 3 or 4 days without going on, at least doing some sort of exercise, typically weights is better for me than just a long walk. But I become an a-hole that is not fun to be around. And so.
And the last one of those empty tanks is purpose depletion.
Yeah.
I put in the notes here. Do you remember why you started? Do you remember why you started doing what you're doing? Or do you only still have a task list of stuff that needs to be done? Remember, we've talked about using the power list before. The power list is important. And it is a key performance indicator of, did I win or lose today? But at what cost did you win or lose? I think what's missing in the power list that people don't put over in that note section, if you've ever seen the power list, it's your five things, right? And then did I win or lose? And then there's a notes section. I guarantee you, if you go back to a couple of your old power list books, there's not a lot of notes in the notes section, right? Because you were just focused on the win. I would say focus on the notes. The notes are almost more imperative to complete than completing the power list.
Why do you say that?
So it's in the why. Why did you complete the power list? Why was the power list important to you? What things did you miss out on to complete your power list? What people's heads did you step on to get across the pond to complete that power list? Again, we talked about earlier that hustle culture is so prevalent today that it's the most important thing to people instead of connecting. One thing that was said to me, I asked one of my coaching clients, what are your goals for 2026? Personal, not professional, but personal. And one of their goals for 2026 was not worrying about the goal, but worrying about the process. Not worrying about the goal, but worrying about the people. Not worrying about the goal, but worrying about the communication, worrying about the connection. People are burnt out on a lack of connection. No different than, I don't know, one of the happiest times in my life was when I lived in a neighborhood, which I don't like, by the way, but we used to have a bonfire every single night. And it was only for 15 to 30 minutes. We'd sit around and just connect and talk about the day and talk about dreams and goals and aspirations and things that were making a difference in our life that day. That personal and interpersonal and human connection, I believe, is what's missing in the world right now, quite frankly. And it's missing in my soul.
So ever since we started talking about this conversation, I have a situation that is happening in my world, right? I talked about being selfish. So here's some transparency. Here's some vulnerability. Is that Chrissy and I have season hockey tickets out here for the Seattle Kraken's farm team called the Coachella Valley Firebirds. And we have an event on Sunday, and we kind of canceled that event. And we are supposed to be with these people that we were in the event with and hang out later in the day, play golf, and then go have dinner. And I looked at the schedule and like, well, wait, we have a hockey game. Now, when I go to these hockey games, it's my checkout, dude. I don't have to talk to anybody. I talk to my seatmates for a little bit, but I'm watching hockey most of the time. And during periods I'm texting or whatever. So I'm just kind of checked out, right? I'm there. I'm in the presence. I'm enjoying the game and all that stuff. But this conversation has spurred to me like, okay, me going to this game is going to miss out what you basically just talked about, is being at the bonfire and hanging out and even though that I have a great relationship with these, like a really good relationship with these people, I'm missing out. Mm-hmm. I'm going to miss out on some conversation that hockey game is not going to fulfill me. And what's more important, go and watch a rubber puck getting shaved around the ice for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, or spending 4 or 5 hours on and off. I mean, because with golf and dinner and stuff like that, it's going to be 4 or 5 hours. And really just enhancing that relationship, mm-hmm. which is so much longer. And so now I'm like, God, you are being a selfish little B word. Is that hockey game going to change your life? This is literally what's going on in my mind right now.
Your inner dialogue.
Yeah, my inner dialogue right now. Is that hockey game really going to change your life for the better? Or is having that one more meaningful conversation with some really good friends? And
well, what would you miss the most if one of them passed away next week?
Yeah, I'd be really upset. We just actually went through a little bit of a eye-opening experience the other day. We had a receptionist for many years at this office, and unfortunately, the reason why you said that, and again, this is all these triggers that go through, and that's why I love this podcast so much. So we've kind of started about business, but a lot of this, it has to deal with personal life and how we're taking care of ourselves. But one of our receptions that we've had for many years at this office, and she left us last year, they found her in her bed the other day, mm-hmm. all by herself, all alone, and she had passed away. And when she left here, our relationship wasn't as strong as it was when she was here, because she'd come in every day, we'd talk to her, and she was, I mean, I can literally, where I'm sitting right now, I can see her house from my podcast room. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to her probably 4 times in the last year. And I'm like, I think about those things that I haven't said, or like, or I've reached out and whatever. So going back to what you said, if these people, if something happened to them that day, or maybe whatever, there's just so many different scenarios, right? That hockey game is never going to fulfill that, ever. And I think that's what it's go back to. We've talked about physical, we've talked about emotional too. Why that is just so fine is constantly is trying to find the consistency in that path while you're pursuing greatness and eliminating the peaks and valleys. And what your friend said, is it's not so much about the goal, it's about the process, right? Mm-hmm. And we've been trained for most of our lives that it's all about the goal, and what gets sacrificed is a sacrifice, and it is what it is, and deal with it. And that will never, ever, ever fulfill us to the fullest extent, especially when we reach that goal. You reach the goals, I've reached goals. And when that goal is met, it's over with. The sacrifices can't come back. The basketball games, the missed date nights, the missed friendships, the missed whatever. So it's reprogramming ourselves, right? It's reprogramming ourselves that the wins are important and you should pursue them to the fullest extent, but check yourself, right? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Is like constantly put yourself in check and just like stop for, maybe you have a stop, maybe you have a time block on your stuff, which I know that you do, but maybe there's just certain things that something triggers your mind, like, okay, time out. I'm going to take 20 minutes and got to reset and get back in this game so I'm not peaking and valleying. Is that what you're doing have you found yourself over the last 2, 3, 4 years?
Yep. So we go into golden nuggets or tools, right? Try to give a golden nugget or a tool every time. These are some actionable tools. The 90-minute reset, once per day, no phone, no problem solving, just refill your tank, whatever that looks like. The second piece is the decision diet. If it doesn't move revenue, relationships, or recovery, it waits. Number 3, energy first planning. Plan days around when you're the strongest, not when you're free. If Saturdays are a day when you aren't on your game, typically, don't plan stuff, whatever that looks like, because you will likely, and not even likely, you will for sure fail on those days more than you did the days that you're strong and capable and ready. You don't need more motivation. You need permission to refill. That's just a key point here. And the weekly challenge for yourself should be to identify the tank that's empty, schedule 1 refill per week, and cancel 1 obligation that doesn't serve your future. And evaluate that. Remember, if it doesn't move revenue, relationships, or recovery, it waits.
Are you putting that stuff in a calendar, or is it something that is embedded into your being at this time, or is it still programmed into your daily schedule?
I program everything into my daily schedule to create consistency and to create accountability. No different than we've talked before. I think episode 40, 50, 60, somewhere right in there. I try to prioritize 30 minutes with each kid per day. It's getting less and less. My daughter went to a youth group meeting last night, and I didn't get to spend 30 minutes with her. I spent about 4 or 5 minutes with her. But with my son, he got to have dinner with mom and dad last night just by himself. And I can't tell you how rewarding that was. The personal interactions that April and I had with Lincoln were over the top yesterday. Literally over the top. We got to hear about his day. Usually we hear about his day at dinner, and it's, how was your day, bud? Good. What was some highlights of your day? PE and recess. And then he's done, and then he goes to eating dinner. And yesterday was him talking for 30, 40 minutes, almost an hour on and off about how his day was and got into the details. I'm getting tingles right now just because it was so magical. It was so rewarding for him to dive deeper into what moved the needle for him that day. I can't even tell you how that was worth more than any of my bank accounts.
For those of you who are not having the pleasure to watch this, and maybe you're listening to it while you're on your walk or you're on a treadmill or doing something like this or listening to it at work, I want you to go find the YouTube or the Spotify. Most of our stuff has video attached to it, and watch Brent's face for the past 2 minutes while he was talking about that. It was flipping awesome. And there was a massive golden nugget in that, because we've been talking about what are you doing when your tank gets empty? How are you reacting? So my question to you is, how fast did your tank get filled in that half hour?
Oh, it's over full today.
Yeah.
It is the why today for me.
And how much did business actually matter in that moment?
Not one bit. That's the ironic part, is at dinner, I actually saw a guy that I've done business with in the past. And I introduced him to my wife, and he introduced me to his wife because we had never met as a couple. The look on his face when he was sitting there, he's in the stall or in the booth next to us, and he was listening to my son. And the look on his face, I can't even imagine our next interaction, how it's going to go. But he was thoroughly impressed that we were so connecting with Lincoln. And he was being very attentive and listening, overhearing our conversation, and you could just see the smile on his face. I not only made an impact in myself, my son, but I made an impact on somebody seeing me completely connected and in the moment. And I'd be willing to bet that impacted our business relationship in ways I can't even convey right now today until the next interaction.
Which we talked about earlier in the beginning of this episode. There's some things that are completely unmeasurable. There's
Correct.
No bar graphs. There's no analytics that you are ever going to be able to look back and say, oh, my business really peaked right there. I should do more of that. That is a ripple effect that a lot of us don't understand. A lot of us want. I know a lot of us fail at it. I fail often at it. I'm sure that everyone that's watching this or listening to this episode can pinpoint the time like, yeah, it's chasing a little too hard. At the end of the day, businesses are going to come and go. It's just the ebb and flow of entrepreneurship. As Brent said, there's wins and there's losses. Sometimes the losses take a little bit longer to get out of. You may be on a streak of 1 to 2 or 3 years that you're not hitting that mark. It happens. But where's your tank? How are you filling it? Are you filling it with stuff that's going to go away? Or are you going to fill it with stuff that has endless possibilities? And stuff that you most likely won't see in the rest of your, by the end of your life.
So my tank at this point is like over full, right?
Right.
Stoked. This lady who was sitting in 2 booths or 3 booths away from us over behind us on the right, she walked up when we were getting ready to leave. And she said, I just want to tell you and thank you. I am so impressed with your son. He was amazing in this environment. And I just can't tell you how impressed and how proud I am of to see people having those interactions with their kids and having their kids be so polite and kind and courteous. And she said, thank you to April and I. And thank you. She looked at Lincoln right in the eye and said, thank you for being who you are. Immeasurable.
Some good ish in there today. You guys better strap in. If this is, I hope that you go back and watch this episode today, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. And in this day and age where we have this mentality, or feast or famine. It's okay to have a little bit of famine as long as you're filling your tank the right way to get it back up. And start eliminating the peaks and valleys and concentrate on consistency, even if it takes you a little bit longer. It's the cake effect, right? We can have all the ingredients, but if we try to, and if it says to cook it at 375 or 425 and you try to cook it at 600,
faster,
it's just going to come, the cake's going to suck. And I know that we know this. I know you've heard it 1,001 times, but let today's episode be a trigger for you that do some readjustments. It's a reset. I don't care if you're like already chasing that goal and you're knee deep in your habit. You're going to hit a valley. So figure out how to get rid of that valley and and maybe lower the peak a little bit to have it more consistent, and maybe taking that peak and filling in that valley. So it's a constant ride of greatness. So this is just awesome, man. Any final thoughts for you?
Yeah, so my final thought's really going to hit home, and I want you guys to really take note of this and even go back and rewind it and replay it several times, because this impacted me so magically today that I can't even tell you. One of my mentors, probably one of the biggest key players of mentorship in the last 2,000 years, lived by this, died by this, and is relevant today because of this. He never worried, he never hurried, and he never lived in the problem. He always lived in the answer. Any guesses? I'll repeat it one more time before you guess, Blair. He never worried, he never hurried, he never lived in the problem. He always lived in the answer.
I should know this, but I don't have a name for it right now.
Jesus Christ.
And that, my friends, in itself is because of our faith and all those people that do follow us, that have faith on there. How often do we forget that he's the best mentor in life? We look for these topical mentors. That was awesome.
And on that, go make a damn difference, because it is up to you.
It is. Don't let your tank get empty, guys. We need you around. You're a massive impact in this world, and you're feeling a little bit lost today. Watch this episode a couple times. Just know that we love you and that we believe in you. Even though that we've not met, there's a reason why you're watching or listening to this today. And our belief, Brent and I's belief, is God put you here for a reason today. And we want you to understand that we are here to help. And if we're not the guys, just reach out to us anyways, and we will get you in touch with that guy or girl to put a Band-Aid on it and help you heal. But do not let life kick your butt. You're too great for letting life take your life. So yeah, just do that. But go back and watch this episode a couple of times, guys. Share the show. We love it. You guys have been awesome. Continually get more awesome every week. It's just great. But again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, share the show, leave us comments in whatever platform you're watching on, if it's YouTube, Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. Just leave us a comments and tell us how this affected you and how this was going to help your tank get full. We have gone Joe Rogan today, and it seems like we're going farther and farther in this. So sooner or later, we're going to have to we will evolve. I know that we will evolve to do some cool stuff, but until we see each other next week, stay safe, but most of all, God bless, guys.